MJ Movie Reviews back, and happy Halloween to all of my viewers out there on this lovely cold day of Halloween. So, today is not going to be a movie review, but what I'm going to talk about today is my earliest horror movie memories. Well, the first horror film I do remember seeing was actually A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. I believe I saw that film, it must have been 1986, because I believe Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was released in 85. And I know this was around the time me and my family had moved to another house, and my older brothers and sisters they're about 9 years, my two brothers and sister are 9 years ahead of me, so they must have been maybe about, I don't know, maybe 15 or 16, and they rented A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And I tell you, this was at the time, this was even before number 3 had come out. There were only 2 Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I was absolutely terrified of Freddy Krueger. I was horrified in watching A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I can distinctly remember the school bus scene where the movie opens, and when you see the titles come onto the screen go, I never forget my heart, physically, my body just started to sink when I just heard the music. And when the bus took off and jumped off into the desert, I was utterly terrified. Every single daylight scene in that movie, I felt safe watching that film. But then when it went to the night scenes, it was just so terrifying. I mean, Freddy Krueger is really absolutely terrifying in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And I know that movie gets a lot of heat for kind of the homosexual kind of subtext to the film. You know, I mean, I think it works for the film. I think if there's one issue I do have with A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, it's the fact that, you know, again, and Robert Englund has mentioned this and other things, is how it really plays with the rules of Freddy by having him come into the real world. And, you know, although the pool party scene is really cool and there's some really cool, gnarly special effects in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I think the biggest issue with that film is the fact that they didn't have a clear idea of what they wanted the movie to be about. But in just the fact that Freddy needs to be in dreams, not in the real world. But the homosexual subtext to the film didn't bother me at all. I actually thought that was pretty cool. And to be perfectly honest, when I think about the Nightmare on Elm Street movie canon, Freddy's Revenge, even though that subtitle has nothing to do with anything in the movie, they just slapped it on there, I still think the really gross special effects, you know, the tongue coming out of Jesse's mouth while he's making out with the girl who looks like Meryl Streep, and you know, Freddy protruding out of Jesse's body. And I think one of the most terrifying scenes I remember in Freddy's Revenge that really scared me when I was a kid was the scene where I think he's attacking the girl in the house, and he bites her on the leg, and he's got her in the kitchen, and he goes, "Come on, Lisa, kill him, kill him." I mean, that scene, I remember it made me cry when I was a kid. And I remember going up to my parents' bedroom door like, "Oh, let me in." And my dad just basically did not open the door, and they're just like, "Take him back downstairs." And I had to finish watching Freddy's Revenge, so thanks, Dad. But A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I think is a very underrated sequel. I think it's underappreciated. I don't think it's nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be. I think it's Robert Englund, I think makeup-wise and performance-wise, is his most terrifying interpretation of Freddy, in my opinion. Number 2, I'm going to move on to Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, which was, from what I remember, the second horror film that I ever saw. I remember watching that with my older brother Marcus, which, again, this was, you know, I don't know, I think Final Chapter was 84, so this is all around the same time. But I never forget watching the scene with my older brother where Jason is chasing Trish from, you know, the Jarvis house all the way over to the party house, and she somersaults out the window, and Jason kind of looking out that blue house. I never forget that blue house. It's very interesting how there's very distinct memories that hold in your head for certain parts of certain films at whatever age you are. And I don't know why I always remember that part of the film. the blue house and Jason chasing Trish. And of course, you know, when Corey Feldman comes out with the get up on and he plunges the machete and Jason falls down onto the knife. I just never forget that scene. I mean, I was jarred by that. Then I want to move on to number 3, which was Return of the Living Dead. And I never forget, when we watched Return of the Living Dead, we would go to the video store every weekend and we would rent movies. And we literally watched Return of the Living Dead as a family, meaning my father, my mother, my second mother. But I distinctly remember when Tarman came out and said, "Brains," I hit the roof. Keep in mind, you all, I think I was about 6 years old. I hit the roof. I was so terrified. And I never forget the other scene in Return of the Living Dead, the other scene in Return of the Living Dead when, I believe Glue Gallagher knocks off Tarman's head with the baseball bat. And I never forget distinctly my father going, "Ooh!" And we all watched that as a family. It's such cool memories of that film. But Tarman terrified me. Really, 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 really scared me. Let's move on to Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. Really, in my household, my older brother, who, like I said, he was a teenager, he really stuck with Freddy and Jason a lot at that time. But I remember watching, that was another one, and that's strange to think about it, but we watched Friday the 13th, A New Beginning as a family. And I can remember being so excited because Shavar Ross was in it. And I was a big fan of Different Strokes. And to me, it was Dudley. You know, it wasn't Reggie the Reckless. It was Dudley. And I got so excited in seeing Miguel Nunez in the film as well. Because I remembered him from Return of the Living Dead. And I remember Friday the 13th 5 was very shocking to me when I was a child. I mean, obviously I think I was 6, 7 years old. But, everything in it was shocking. I mean, the opening dream sequence murders with the screwdriver and the machete to the stomach. And then I think it was, I remember being really creeped out with the garden shears to the eyes and the strap to the belt across the eyes. And I think it was the scene where Reggie the Reckless went into Tommy's room and found the body strewn across the bed. That really was I mean, even though when you look at Friday the 13th 5, it's cut to pieces, it was still a very, very shocking film to me as a child. And I remember thinking it was super duper bloody. And I still think there are moments of intensity in Friday the 13th Part 5. I just think ultimately the MPAA really watered it down. But Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning was another really good, kind of family experience of watching the movie. Yeah, Friday the 13th Part 5. And I never forget that closing credits of Tommy when he puts on Roy's mask and then the music goes dun, 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 and he raises the knife. Just a cool moment. And I do remember the first time I saw John Carpenter's Halloween, which was when I lived at my old house. Me and my mother and my sister. I believe I was in kindergarten when I saw John Carpenter's Halloween. And I had a black and white television in my room that would turn to the local TV stations in Cleveland, 3, 5, and 8, and Channel U, which was 43 or 55. And I remember seeing John Carpenter's Halloween on the Channel 43 WUAB 8 o'clock movie. And it was in black and white. And I never forget seeing the scene where Michael Myers comes up behind Laurie Strode and his face slowly protrudes out of the darkness. And he walks up behind Jamie Lee Curtis, seeing that in black and white. I saw so many films at that time in black and white. And just those are my earliest horror memories. I'd also like to make a mention to House, starring William Catt. When I saw Big Ben at the end, when he said "sucker," another time I hit the roof, darted out of the room, But those are my earliest horror movie memories that I have from my childhood. I was way too young to have seen those films. Me and a buddy of mine talked about it recently, but those are just some really fun, terrifying movie experiences that kind of help to create all this creativity you see right now on this YouTube channel. those memories are just always fun, and they'll always stick with me. So, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, leave comments down below about your Halloween horror movie memories or any other things I might have missed on this great, wonderful day of Samhain. And if you don't like Samhain, go watch The Bridges of Madison County. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll see you soon.